We are in an era of crisis, and we are always in these circumstances kind of fiddling while we know very well that Rome is burning outside. And it's hard, but necessary also to be festive, because it's unusual to bring together so many people from so many different places who share, whatever they may believe, a common agenda. So I didn't understand exactly what this setting was going to be, so I should probably modify what I was going to say, but I don't have the resilience to do that. So the topic was given us was the future of the altered globalization movement. So I thought maybe first I should talk about the nuts and bolts of the altered globalization movement, and then say something about the fundamentals. So I'll go really fast on the nuts and bolts, because there has been a big debate about what is the future of the World Social Forums. Are we doing what we ought to be doing? Should we be looking for something else? I think, this year, maybe you know, maybe you don't know, I'll even ask for a show of hands, because this year, on the 26th of January, there was a worldwide event about the World Social Forum. And everywhere in the world, people were supposed to do whatever they thought they should do to advance the cause. Now, how many people here in this room, committed activists, I'm sure all of you, were aware that the 26th of January, there was something going on? That's pretty good, but that's not everybody. So, it's far from being everybody. So, the positive aspect of this choice was made because it was parallel to Davos. Davos, I was in Switzerland doing the Alter Davos events, which were a lot of fun. But we did not, there's positive and negative for the 26th of January. It was positive because there were at least 1,500 events around the world. And it was negative because we're the only ones who know that. And I think that it is time that we have to talk seriously about being more visible. Now, many people resist this. Many people feel that it is what we do ourselves that counts. But I think that it is serious that the media have moved on. They see nothing to write about, talk about, film, or take pictures of in the altered globalization movement, and from there they just say it's dead and we don't have to talk about this anymore. I don't believe it's dead. I see fantastic things happening in any number of places. I see people engaging in remarkable activities everywhere. But this isn't known. And perhaps it's my age, I don't know. But I think that we can only approach this in two ways. The first is to say, we don't care if the media are interested in us or not as an altered globalization movement, because what is important is that we reinforce our ties to each other, and that we construct our different affinities together. And so we are not going to deal with whatever happens outside. The second way to look at this, and this is my way, I say straight out, is that we do care, that we want our ideas to be flowing through the larger society. We want to spread and convince people that we can combat neoliberalism, and that we do not have to submit to ecological destruction, and we do not have to accept the demise of democracy everywhere, and that we insist on coming together, but coming together in the larger world and making ourselves visible. That is my view. So there is a big debate now. Maybe this is too esoteric for this gathering, but there's a big debate now on, should the World Social Forum continue to have one big event in some place, which will be Brazil next year, and then every alternate year have a year of decentralized activities. I'm fine with the decentralized activities every alternate year, but frankly, I think it is time to say to ourselves, we have to use this moment worldwide to do something together, in common. And we have to choose a theme which can be interpreted in various ways in many, many different cultures, but interpret that however you like, but be together on a single theme with common symbols, and create visibility so that others know what we are about. Now, I just give you a couple of suggestions. These are, I don't even care what the theme is, but if, for example, we decided together that what we had to do was to do a day of mourning for a dying planet. Well, there are many cultures who have, we all have our ways of mourning our dead for being sad together. These are always extraordinarily important moments in any culture. Our symbols are different, but we could do that all over the world, each in our own ways. But we would have to choose the common theme, the dying planet. Or it could be something else. I don't care what the theme is. To go from mourning to laughter, we could have a global laugh-in. Every culture could choose its most ridiculous, most harmful, stupidest institution and go there together and have a big laugh-in in front of it. I mean, I dream about this. I've been saying this for 10 years. Nobody wants to have a big laugh-in. I think it would be terrific. But those are my nuts and bolts comments. I mean, common symbols, pick a common theme, come together worldwide on something. I don't think this means imposing anything on anyone. I'm not saying drop the work that you're doing on feminism, on human rights, on whatever your work is. Don't drop it. Do it 364 days of the year. But one day, say together, let's say together, yes, we can come out on a theme to become visible and to say to the larger society that we are the second superpower, because that's what the New York Times called us on 16 February 2003, and then, alas, we lost the momentum of that day. Now let me say something about the fundamentals. Those are the nuts and bolts, what I've just been discussing. I think we have to have much greater convergence between the three main crises. God knows there are dozens of crises around us all the time. You can't open a newspaper now without seeing what these everybody now recognizes the crisis, even those who were the furthest from admitting it as much as a year ago. But we have three major movements confronting these crises. The first is the global justice movement, which is very broad, but is basically focused on anti-neoliberalism. It's focused on the inequalities that neoliberalism creates. It is focused on the huge rich-poor divide, which is growing much greater, whether it is within countries or between countries. We have all the statistics we need. I'm not going to say to this group how we can prove that. I think you all know that capital is now taking an enormous share of the pie and leaving less and less to working people. And there are more and more people in the world who are not in the game at all, who I even refer to, and don't take this as being sarcastic, I think it is realistic. They are, in fact, the rubbish people, because they do not produce in the capitalist system, and they do not consume in the capitalist system, and so they do not register. They are not part of the game. These people are dispensable. These people can be got rid of. They don't count. And this is one of the reasons that we see the AIDS crisis advancing, malaria, tuberculosis, environmental refugees, etc., etc. The global justice movement is concerned with these huge inequalities that are sustained and created by the debt crisis, the capital flows which all flow to the top, the financial crisis, etc. Second big configuration is the environment climate change crisis, and that it tends to be slightly different activists, but still very close to the global justice movement. I mean, that we have improved our contacts and our common working capacity with the environmental movement. So that is the second big cluster. The third big cluster is the peace and conflict issues, and I'm delighted to see this evening my friend Bob Gould, who I met a very short time ago in New Delhi at the conference. Robert Gould is here, if you're photographing him, of the IPPNW, the International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War, who won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985, and who are extending their focus not just to nuclear war, but to all kinds of conflicts. And they were kind enough to invite me to talk about globalization and war. But that is a whole constellation of people that the global justice movement does not necessarily know. Think back to the 15th of February 2003. I was in the streets. I'm sure you were in the streets wherever you were in the world, Walden in the Philippines maybe, but other people in Europe, I mean in the US. People were out even in Antarctica, so clearly you were all in the streets. And what happened afterwards? We lost that momentum. What happened to those millions of people? Why aren't we together now? That is one of the major questions we've got to ask, and we've got to ask it and solve that problem. We have to come back together. We have to become the superpower that the New York Times said on the 16th of February that we were. Now, can we be mature enough? Are we mature enough to meet this challenge without having a horrible war as the inspiration for coming together? Are we mature enough to go out and seek out each other, global justice, environment, anti-war, peace and conflict people, and to come together and say, look, we all agree on this, this is our common concern, and we can build upon that. I think we know that we have workable proposals. We know what to do. It is incredible that the establishment will try absolutely everything that has failed and that we know has failed before they try the perfectly reasonable solutions that we are presenting to the problems that they have created. The Davos people have never foreseen anything, and they have never solved anything, and the G8 has never foreseen anything. And to get something on the agenda of the G8 takes about 20 years. Take it from me, who wrote about debt 20 years ago, or hunger, or whatever. They don't get it, right? They simply do not get it. And that is up to us to say, we have the workable proposals, we know what must be done, and you've got to listen to us. But they will not listen to us until we are together and until we are numerous and visible enough. Because we have the numbers, we have the ideas, we have the workable proposals, we have the expertise, but what we do not have is the management and the media at the moment. So I think we have to think in terms of tactics. I'm speaking about tactics, but I'm also speaking about fundamentals. Personally, I believe that we could solve this financial crisis. Walden may talk to you, I don't know, about military Keynesianism, which the other side wants to pursue, and he's afraid that they will go more and more into the war economy and use the budget to create military Keynesianism, which of course will have a very bad ending, because it will also end up with fewer jobs and less economic sharing and growth. But I believe that we could, in this country, because America is a very inventive country. I was born here, and I remember the effort of World War II. I was a child, but I remember how the economy was converted, how the whole country changed to contribute to the war effort. Now, instead of doing that for military reasons, why not do it for ecological reasons? Why not convert the economy on a war footing to a solar, hydrogen, oil-free economy for the whole of the United States and become again what this country was, because some of us remember it before the onset of neoliberalism. This country had its own generosity. I'm not downplaying all of its faults. We all know that historically. But there was also that America that understood that greater equality between people was important, that we could not neglect the poorest, we could not allow this country to become the country of the rich and the powerful. And as Justice Felix Frankfurter, the Supreme Court, said, we can have either great inequalities in this country, or we can have democracy, but we cannot have both. And I think the solution to this problem now in the US is to devote our energies to converting our economy into the leading light in the world, and I'm not ashamed of using such terms, of the environmental economy, the environmental consciousness, which can become a model for the rest of the world. And you can do it financially, because you can say to the banks, you get so much new capital from the Federal Reserve. That means that the conditions are that you have to lend to environmental causes. You can do it within the market system. You don't have to have a revolution to change this. Anyway, I'm sorry, I've gone on too long, and you've been extremely attentive. But when I come back to the US, I always have a sense of its promise, of what we believed when we were in school in the 1940s, you know. I mean, we really believed that this country was the beacon of the world. It was that. It was the hope of the world. It still is for many immigrants who come here. They still believe that this country is the land of hope and the land of opportunity. And I think it can be that again, but it's got to convert itself into the 21st century in a way that only a united movement can make it do. Otherwise, this will not happen spontaneously. So this is a responsibility for all of us to take on this convergence between the global justice movement, the environmental movement, the peace movement, come together and impose a new movement of the pendulum of history and push it to the right side. Thank you. I sometimes think if it were only the politics, we have time. We could pull this movement together and we could eventually create a politics which would be much more egalitarian, and we could reduce inequalities, and we could create a democratic system in which people would find a dignified life. If it were only the politics, but it's not. It's the environment. And there I feel so often we don't have time. And we have to push through other solutions, which is why I suggested at the end of my remarks that we really needed a all-out Keynesian effort, but that had to be political, had to be driven by movements, but accepted at the policy level. Now this is what I honestly don't know if this can happen in the US. I feel more and more that the Democrats are going to destroy each other, and that McCain, no, but I mean, they have this huge talent for snatching defeat, as you know, from the jaws of victory. So, no, but it is a remarkable talent, and I just see McCain sort of going around the world looking very presidential, and you know, I think, my God, a third term for Bush. No, but seriously, the world cannot, no, but the planet cannot take a third term for Bush. So what you are saying is deadly, deadly serious. And that's where this coalition has got to make a difference. And it has got to say to politicians, and we can't, I'm afraid, go further than Keynesianism where we are now, because I don't see the revolution happening tomorrow morning. And if you will tell me where the Winter Palace is, I will go and join you and storm the Winter Palace with you, but I don't know where it is, and I know it's not on Wall Street, because after September 11th, Wall Street was up and running 3 or 4 days later, so the Winter Palace is not there, and the Tsar, I don't know where he is, but if you will tell me, I will go with you. So, but I don't see it. So this is what we have to do. We have to create a revolution in the absence of the usual suspects, of the obvious targets, and this is very difficult to do. So how can we convince the politicians, particularly if they are Republican politicians, which God forbid, but I mean, you know, I don't live in this country. I don't know where things are going. You have a sense of that, which is beyond mine. But this worries me immensely. I think we have to say, quite pragmatically, that there is a win-win situation. There's win-win for the working people, because if we did an ecological conversion, there would be innumerable jobs created. It would be a huge beginning for the economy, but we cannot allow it to be totally free market. It has to be nationalized in many ways. We have to accept this notion, which everybody's going to say, oh, socialism, you know. Yes, 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 yes. We accept that people control socialism. What is that? It's only that people are controlling definitely important aspects of the economy. I think the market is important, but the market cannot make the decisions in everything. The real debate is about where is the market competent and where is it not, and what can be decided by the market. Do you want water in the market? I don't. Do you want health care? Do you want education in the market? I don't. But that, I mean, this is where the debate is. Do we have a market economy I don't want to have to discuss the price of bread every time I go out and buy a croissant in France, right? I mean, I want to know what the price is without having a long philosophical discussion. But I do want things, basic things, outside the market, where they don't belong. And that is where we have to go. But we can't do that unless we are united as a global justice, environmental, peace and conflict movement, conscious of itself, which is going somewhere together, to say that the market cannot be the be-all and end-all of social organization. And Walden would tell you in a more theoretical way than I can do what Polanyi said about this. And if you don't know Polanyi, the younger ones among you, P-O-L-A-N-Y, that on to him, because this guy, he really had it figured out. I mean, he thought we would not have to be in this situation. There he was wrong, but on everything else, he was right. Somebody asked about bombing Iran. I don't know. All I know is what I read in Hirsch. All I know is the fears that I have about this. We have to prevent a huge reaction to something that the Republicans will certainly try between now and November. I think we can more or less bank on that, that there will be a manufactured crisis of a Tonkin Gulf nature, and we have to be ready for that. And if people aren't ready for it and aren't prepared to say this is a manufactured crisis, then we're going to be in deep trouble. And are Americans, question, are Americans as smart as Spaniards?
No way.
No, but I mean, I think Americans are very smart. I come to this meeting of the ISA. I come to these meetings. I mean, this is a congregation of about 5,000 really smart people. But are we as smart as Spaniards, who in 3 days, threw out Aznar, when Americans in 3 years did not throw out Bush on the same grounds? Terrorism, in quotes, which they recognized as a sham argument, and they did not take it, even though the Madrid station had been bombed and there were 190 some victims, and but they didn't accept the government explanation. And I don't know how, I don't live here. I don't know how much Americans are still under the September 11th illusion. But, I mean, let's move on. Let's take in hand this country. You are the ones who can do that, not me. I can maybe help you from outside, but I don't live here. You have to take this in hand, and you have to reach out to the people who are maybe not in agreement with you on absolutely everything, but the circles of our concerns converge. The circles of the concerns of the peace movement are here, and the global justice movement are here, but there is that segment where we agree. We have to build on those common perceptions, on those common convictions, on those common necessities, to understand the dire nature of the challenge we are confronted with. Because, as both Kevin and Walden and Barry have said, we are confronted with a situation which is unique in history. I mean, one feels very sort of silly saying these things, and one sounds a bit apocalyptic, but that's really where it is. We have never in history had this challenge of the climate the way we have now. So I go back to my first point. If it were just the politics, we would have time. But since it is not just the politics, it is also the climate which is changing and accelerating, and the feedback effects are going off the charts into totally unknown territory. We don't know what those effects are going to be. We have to come together with a sense of historic planetary responsibility.